Okay, good afternoon. I'm Fred from Public Domain and Stereo Running Records. I'm glad to host this podcast about the future of Jiu-Jitsu. I have three marvelous people with me, and I'm going to let them introduce themselves. So starting with you, Rich.
Yeah, I'm Rich Harris. I'm a designer from the UK and the owner of Whiskey Wolf.
I'm Riccardo Amendolia. I'm a manager of general rights acquisition for Flow Grappling, also a commentator for a lot of Flow Grappling's events, as well as matchmaker for Who's Number One.
Hi, I'm Lee. I'm one of the owners of Tatami Fightwear, along with Polaris Grappling, and that's about it.
Man, that's good. That's good. When did you join this industry? Starting first with you.
Oh, I've been designing as long as I can remember, I think. But I kind of went from agency design work into the Whiskey Wolf in 2014.
Okay, so you created the brand in 2014?
Yes, yeah,
okay.
Well, it kind of created itself really. It was all purely by accident.
Okay, what about you?
Actually, in 2004, I think I want to say, I started to organize my own invitational events in Canada. And around 2009, I started commentating and, just kind of kept doing the two things from then on. And then actually having a real job in the industry around 2015 when Flo first hired me to do commentary. And then later, to become a full-time guy at the company. So it's been a long time.
It's been a long time. And you, Lee?
Me, we started researching the brand in 2008. The brand was kind of established in 2009. Tatami Fightwear, this is, and we started trading in 2009. But the idea was, the seed was in 2008. And it grew from there. About 5 years later, so we had about 16 years in Tatami Fightwear. About 5 years later, we had an idea of creating a grappling event. I mean, Meta Morris was the big thing at the time, and we thought, we could do this in the UK. It would be a cool thing to do for Polaris, and we kind of set Polaris going. In fact, we were the first ever show on Flow Grappling, as I remember it. So I remember that. So, but in terms of Tatami, 2008, 2009, it's open to debate, and Polaris then was about 5 years later.
Okay, so both of you were practitioners who were doing Jiu-Jitsu before being involved in the business side of Jiu-Jitsu, but
yes.
What about you, Lee?
Me, I did judo as a young man, and judo was my thing, but I had a nasty accident in 2001. I broke my back in a couple of places, in a coma, lucky to be alive, all that malarkey. I'm not looking for sympathy, but that's just the truth of it. And I took my kids were young at the time, and I wanted to do martial arts. They were doing karate, bored with it. I said, guys, you need to do this jiu-jitsu. It was a great thing. I loved the UFC because it was still quite a new sport then. I said, you need to do this jiu-jitsu, guys. And I took them to a local class. There was a young blue belt, Gareth. He was about 22 years of age at the time. And, he had an idea of starting a brand up. And I said, come on, let's do it together. And that's what we did. So, I mean, my love for the sports and the martial arts, and judo in particular was, for me, was unmatched, really, and then it made sense just to fall into a brand.
Okay, and what made you like Jiu-Jitsu more than judo? Was it about the lifestyle? Was it about the image? What looks better back then compared to judo?
But back then, I mean, in terms of the sport, for me, in judo, you hit the ground, you do some groundwork, niwaza, and it was 3 seconds, stand back up, and I thought, actually, there's a lot more could be done on the ground.
There's something missing.
There was something missing, and it was jiu-jitsu. It was unbelievable. Obviously, as a spectator sport, judo is kind of cool because the throw-in, and people want to see ankles in the air and smashing onto the ground, and that's what's cool for judo. But then when you get to the ground, there's nothing more. And I guess it was, I thought to myself, why has judo never gone this far? Why don't you go even a little bit further and look for even more submissions? We learned the basics, judikatami and the basic chokes and things, but it was never to the degree, it didn't have the science that jiu-jitsu had. So it was great to see that sport come along.
Okay, and what brings you guys as well in jiu-jitsu back then?
I think the creativity was one of the big things that drew me in. I'd done traditional martial arts before that, like Wing Chun and kickboxing and things, and just the technique side of jiu-jitsu is kind of creative as well, the physical side, but also the fact that I could put patches on my gi. I could put any patches I wanted on my gi. Right.
So it was about customizing your gi
and
being able
all
to be free, and it was like skateboarding or surfing.
Yeah,
you were
exactly.
able to.
Instead of stickers, it was patches. So I could buy my gi from Tatami and then put any patches I liked on it, all the music patches, anything. So that was kind of a big thing for me.
Cool. So yeah, growing up, my father taught karate. So I always wanted to do martial arts. I always wanted to, be a martial artist. My dad had all the black belt magazines. We were Bruce Lee on the cover and stuff. Really cool. And growing up, I always wanted to be like my father. So I, took up traditional martial arts, Wing Chun as well a little bit. Did karate, and then I saw UFC 3, and I was like, "The heck is this?" So,
What the?
Yeah, that was kind of the moment, and I didn't like the jiu-jitsu guys. Like, I was like, who the heck is Royce Garcia? I thought my Canadian brother...
What's the Garcia family? We
Yeah,
never
who
heard
are
of.
these guys? My brother told me, he's like, there's this Garcia family from Spain, and they just wrap people up and suffocate them like an anaconda. I didn't know what was going on. I wanted the Canadian Harold Howard to win in UFC 3, representing karate, but he got submitted. And then I started to learn more about the UFC and more about what jiu-jitsu was, and that was kind of it. I got hooked. And my life's been changed ever since.
Okay, so talking about the UFC 4 is a good transition for me because I have a question for you about the position of the media in the BJJ industry, the things you're doing with flow grappling. What's the situation or what's the landscape for you of the BJJ media in general?
Yeah, I think in general, the media keeps growing and getting better as the sport keeps growing and getting better, right? There's more events now than ever. More amateur events, more professional events. The amateur events, participatory events are growing by huge scale. You look at the IBJJF Masters Worlds, they had 12,000 competitors. The Brasileiros, 9,000 competitors. BJJ SummerWeek, 1,000 people here, which is crazy. So, from the landscape from the opinion of flow grappling, we just want to be telling stories of the athletes, the events, and trying to help grow the sport by doing so in the process.
Yeah.
Whether it's through live streaming, documentaries, podcasts, techniques, all the different stuff. So we see the growth parallel to other sports that
Yeah,
flow
because
has.
that's the culture of flow sports, doing the
Exactly.
same with many sports in the US.
Exactly. Like Flow has, 20, 30 different sports. It's not just grappling. The grappling team is only like 4 or 5 guys, but there's 500 employees of all the different sports. Now a couple countries in the world as well. So yeah, it's jiu-jitsu worldwide is growing. The beautiful thing is the media is maturing, not just from our perspective, but whether it's brand media, whether it's event media, whether it's
Influencers or old people becoming their own media on social media.
Exactly. The maturity of the media is awesome, because now the athletes and teams don't have to depend on like the mainstream media or the bad guys at Flow like to think about us sometimes. They can just go out and make their own, right? Which is good for them. It teaches them to be responsible for their own brand. And also it gets them to tell the stories the way they want to do it and not just from our perspective. So the landscape is growing as the sport continues to grow tremendously year by year.
Okay, and you see it as not as a challenge, but you see it as something that's open and that help the global scene to evolve and grow within the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's an expression, rising tides raise all ships, right? So the more everyone could do a good job of educating, more people to come into jiu-jitsu, whatever format that is, and whatever media they're doing, it's good for the sport. So the more people that come, more people are going to participate. More participants, the more potential Flow subscribers.
Yeah,
So
more
that's how we
people
see
interested in jiu-jitsu.
Exactly. So it's growth for everyone worldwide.
What you said there is quite right. I think grassroots is quite important. We look at the same as Tatami family. We like to look at the children, the youth. When we started Tatami, the kids' jiu-jitsu was so small. But now, actually, our kids' market, the sales that we do, is quite significant. It's even getting to like 20% of our trade sometimes because the kids coming through is what's going to make the sport grow and grow and grow. And you have to keep it a family-oriented sport. Keep that whole family vibe about it, I think. So, and Flow are doing exactly the right thing to do that.
Yeah, and Lee, it's more or less same question for you, but based on the business side this time. You started the company with Garrett, and you have a new CEO since 3 or 4 years. Ty,
4 years, Ty.
Yeah. And Ty is not someone coming from the jiu-jitsu industry or from the martial art industry. It's someone who came from a mainstream established
retail.
brand. Yeah, mainstream retail, and does that bring something? I have the answer on my side, but what did it bring for you to help the brand grow, to have maybe a new process, a new approach, like not being somehow an indie brand anymore, but a brand that grow big enough to become like a classic brand?
I think, well, I mean, to start with, I mean, obviously I wasn't from jiu-jitsu because I was not doing any sport. Rugby was my big sport. I'm a big rugby guy. But obviously I loved judo and things, so it was a natural progression for me. So Gareth was the jiu-jitsu guy. He's a black belt and has been for many years. So the marriage was great. I mean, my business ideas were great. Gareth's jiu-jitsu was great. And we got to a stage after COVID, and we thought, we could be pushing further. And it's not just for business; it's to also the community. I mean, we took Ty on about 4 years ago, just after COVID, and we were lucky enough to find a guy who lived in quite close to us, within about 30, 40 miles, whatever that is, 50 kilometers of where we are. And we were quite lucky to find him because his retail knowledge was far superior to mine and Gareth's, and he's really fit in well because he's a likable guy as well, which is it's an important thing with Tatami. We sponsor people, we employ people. You have to be nice people. If you're not a nice person, you don't fit with Tatami. So what he's done is he's driven us forward, but he's also involved in the community. What he now knows about jiu-jitsu it surpasses what I know about jiu-jitsu. Ty's enveloped himself. He's got that kind of personality that he needs to know everything that's going on, and he's really done so well, and not just for the business but for the sport as well. The people we sponsor, the kids that he's brought on, it's something that Gareth and I were neglecting. So to be fair to the guys, he's pushed the brand somewhere that we needed to be, and maybe Gareth and I were neglecting, and
somewhere to a place where you would not have been able to go by yourself. He's the reason of the current success and the evolution of Tatami.
Yeah, I mean, before Ty came on board, I think Gareth and I were doing very, very well, and I think we were competing for one of the biggest brands in the world, but we thought there was further to go, and he was the final piece of the jigsaw. For me, it's very hard to give up control. The type of guy I was many years ago. I'm not so much like that now, but it was a case of I'm the guy who's in control. And it was kind of hard to let the reins go, but I've done it. Don't get me wrong. I still have a say and a big say, the biggest say in what we do. But what Ty brings to the table at board meetings is actually that makes a lot of sense. And we leave him do the day-to-day stuff. We leave him do whatever he wants to do, pretty much. And if I saw something that wasn't in the Tatami spirit, I would say, and I put my foot down. But I've never had to do that so far.
Okay, great. Same question for you, Rich, but you're on my side of the table, like being the indie brand. So with that evolution from a media point of view and from a branding point of view, if we take Tatami, what's your vision as an indie brand of that evolution, that going market, and how do you see yourself fit in all this?
I think the biggest thing is the diversity. So all those little indie brands, the people on the mat are so very diverse, especially in jiu-jitsu. So the brands have to kind of reflect that, really. There's a place for everyone, and I'm just kind of one voice in the choir. And we're so kind of lucky that the big boys in this brand kind of invite us in as well. So we work with Tatami. So I'm independent, but we're working together. So it's the best of both worlds, really. So we kind of feed off each other.
It's a place. It's a place for everybody on the table. It's a place for everybody on the table. It really is.
And that's also what makes this market so complete compared to other markets where you have one supplier, one brand, and no storytelling, nothing around.
Yeah. I think the benefit that we have is the speed, because we're smaller, much smaller, so we can kind of turn our ideas around maybe a little bit quicker. But then you work to kind of launch those ideas with the bigger brands.
I think for your brand too, what stood out for me is the authenticity and also just like the organic coolness that it had. Last year I remember coming and seeing the Italian BJJ jerseys, and the Sardinia jerseys. I was like, man, I want one of those. So it's like I didn't know so much about the brand, until that point, but the product spoke for itself. The product is what got my attention, how cool it was, as opposed to the actual brand name. And I think that's a challenge for a lot of brands, right? Because everyone wants people to recognize who they are and their identity. But if the product is what people see first, I think that's a win. That's just my opinion.
No, absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
And something also important, I guess, speaking for both Public Domain and Whiskey Wolf, but it's also being legit about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not about just having a fancy logo
No.
or try to do a collab with a surfing brand, a roller derby brand, a skateboarding brand. It's just to be true to who you are and what your brand is.
I make the things that I want to wear, and I
Yeah.
make products for my friends. And if other people like them, then that's kind of a bonus for me, really.
A lot of times it's respecting the community as well. You know, just don't put skulls on a T-shirt for the sake of it. It's just respect the community. What are the community?
No
want?
flames, no skulls, no.
Oh, listen, we do flames in the sky sometimes, but it's not
Well, it's a place.
it's not our opening gambit for the first product we ever do. So it's kind of like just being involved.
It's coming back now. You know that, right? The affliction style is coming back. I mean, in North America, affliction is back. You know, there was like that
Yeah.
skulls and crossbones.
Chuck
kinda.
Liddell flames on the
Chuck
shore.
Liddell,
Yeah,
fl- yeah, all that's,
it's
which is scary, but
Yeah,
it's all good.
make flames great again.
Yeah.
That's part of it.
Maffa, is that what you say?
Open question for the three of you. How do you see Jiu-Jitsu, the market, the kind of people practicing in something like 5 or 10 years? Knowing all the evolution the market have, how do you see Jiu-Jitsu and your respective positions in 5 or 10 years in this industry? Who want to start? You want to start, Rich?
I think there's definitely more people that can see like the roadmap. So they start jiu-jitsu in order to compete, in order to get a lifestyle out of it, and to kind of become a world champion. Whereas back when I started, I'm still a hobbyist, and that was the only kind of dream I had, really, and kind of just roll for the sake of rolling, just kind of rolling for my soul. And as I get older, my own personal goal now is just to keep going as long as possible, just kind of hold off the injuries and just stay on the mat and stay around.
Yeah, being able to still enjoy it.
Yeah.
I know. I know the feeling.
I know that pain.
What about you, Riccardo?
So I think that, jiu-jitsu hasn't tapered off yet. All it's kept doing is the slow growth. And I think there's a couple of reasons why it's not going to stop. Unless there's a world war or something, but I think organically it's going to continue to grow. Why? Number one, we've proven that jiu-jitsu is better than other martial arts when it comes to realistic fighting in the UFC 1, to whatever. So we know that it works against all other martial arts. You have to learn jiu-jitsu to beat jiu-jitsu. So if you have to learn jiu-jitsu, you have to learn jiu-jitsu if you want to beat it. So it's never gonna stop growing because more people are gonna want to do it. Number one. Number two, the competitions are growing, and those are great promotions for the sport. However, the competition, as you well know, is such a small aspect of how many people actually are doing jiu-jitsu, right?
Sure.
If you look at an academy, let's say there's 100 students, probably 20 of them only compete.
At best.
At best. So it's going to continue to grow, when you talk about the competitions. Number three, you look at the influencers now, the actors, Tom Hardy, all these other people kind of getting it, Jonah Hill doing jiu-jitsu. It's the trendy new cool thing. And now all those people promoting it, talking about it, it's just going to make more people want to do it. And number four, one of the biggest sports in the world right now, mixed martial arts. You have to know jiu-jitsu to be successful in mixed martial arts. So I remember Shanji Ribeiro said it best. It's like the UFC is like the best marketing tool for BJJ there is, because every time they're going to see, a submission in the UFC, which has more visibility than their UFC BJJ channel tremendously, we're going to get more eyeballs and more people interested in doing jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
So I think when you consider those aspects, and then people understanding the benefits of jiu-jitsu, it's never going to end. We're just going to keep scaling. This camp's going to be up to 2,000 in a couple years. The Masters World's going to be 30,000. Lee's going to have 5 other brands. You know what I mean? Whiskey Wolf's going to transcend to something else. And I'll try to be here flapping my gums, talking about it all.
Keep flapping, Riccardo. Keep flapping. Yeah. No, but what you say is correct. Actually, everything you said, I couldn't say any better, to be honest with you. I mean, there was a massive growth spurt with jiu-jitsu, I think, a number of years ago. I think it has kind of tapered off, but I think there's going to be organic growth now, I guess, because we've noticed that with the brand. I mean, we shot through the roof, and then it kind of slows down a little bit, but I don't think it's going to slow down. it's not going to still shoot for the stars, but I think it's still going to go because everything that Riccardo said about the celebrity endorsements and the like, and just the lifestyle benefits, because when you think of the community, everybody is such a friendly bunch of people, you know what I mean? It's so cool. We go into the city centre here in Cagliari and everybody, hey, hi, they don't know your name, or they might know, hey, Tatami guy, and it's just, hi, come down, have a drink. And it's such a real cool vibe, you know? Light a barbecue, you know, have some beers and things, bring your family, because there's nothing sinister about it. And that's what I like. I think I'm a family guy, I'm a big family guy. Both my sons are here for the summer week with the yoga classes and things. And I'm all about family, and I think that's what jiu-jitsu has. It's not, boxing isn't a family sport. It's great, boxing is great, pugilistic is great, but it's not like I take my kids to watch something. It doesn't have that same kind of cool surf culture, skate culture.
Yeah, jiu-jitsu has that special thing.
I think
inclusive.
That's what will make it grow. It is inclusive. It'll make it grow.
And it also has it because it's part of the thing, the famous Garcia family we talked about earlier, were involved as well when they started to develop jiu-jitsu. It was also about being able to fight for your wave in Rio, fight on the beach, and that's part of the thing. And what you said about the UFC is correct also, because when Rorion started the first UFC in the US, it was not about creating a new sports company. It was about promoting. It was like a Trojan horse. It was about presenting to the world what this martial art was.
And of course, in years to come, every youngster that's bought tatami fight with sponsors is going to be world champions. So that's a bonus for us. You know what I mean?
But that's a good transition also, because beside the evolution for the 5 or 10 years to come, what are the key points of that market? Is it the kids part? Is it the feminine part? Obviously the kids, from what you told me earlier, but for you, what are the things you think you need to target to make this evolution?
There's a lot of talk about ladies jiu-jitsu and, you know, the disparity in the like. So I mean, for me, in our company, traditionally up until this point, ladies' sales, we'll say, is maybe 10% of everything else. So clearly there is a disparity. There is only about 10% of ladies doing jiu-jitsu compared to the rest, whether it be kids and adults. So, you know, but I think that will grow. The more we keep looking after the ladies' environment. I mean, you have to look at Helena Krivam. I think she's going to be the biggest jiu-jitsu person that's ever lived, bar none. I think she's going to surpass anybody, because the amount of people that are so enamored, the children, the adults that wear their hair in bunches and things like that, and they just want to be Helena, or they just want her to be, and people are trying the kit on that we sell, and
that was genius, by the way. Good job.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, we got some marketing tools up our sleeve. We do have. No, but some people who are just regular Joes and regular ladies and trying some and doing a post. We cannot see it, and then Helena's like reposted onto her story, and these I won't say nobodies, because they're not. They're people who really better themselves in jiu-jitsu. These ladies who just, wow, Helena's just reposted something. So
beside all the champions we already know, is she the Tiger Woods of jiu-jitsu or the Tony Hawk of jiu-jitsu? Like some kind of flagship also, even if it's something heavy on anyone's shoulder, but...
we sponsored a lot of good people, a lot of good athletes and things like that, but for me, when I first met Helena, she was a young girl, 16, 17 years of age, and I could see the potential of her, and also how she presents herself, and her parents are such sweet people. They're lovely, lovely people, her parents are. And I spent many hours speaking with her parents when she's been at Polaris events, and to say, don't ever change what you're doing, because there's young girls, I've got hope, there's young boys, I've got hope of what they can achieve, because what they can see Helena's achieving something so young. She's almost like a caricature, you know. Somebody once said that if you want to be well recognized in the world, you have to be recognized by your silhouette. So you've got no features. If you put a silhouette of Helena and post it onto any jiu-jitsu website, everyone will say, I know that girl. You put a silhouette of anybody else, as famous as they might be, it could be Billy Hoyce Gracie, it could be Gordon Ryan, it could be anybody. Put their silhouette on, you don't recognize them, you recognize Helena's silhouette, and people can believe in it, and that's what it is, I think so. And I think she's fantastic for the sport.
Okay, and Riccardo, what about you for possible key markets or new evolution or new thing to target from a flow grappling point of view?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different things that the company right now, we have a new GM, his name's Ben Kovacs, and he's kind of evaluating, some of the direction that we're going to, whether it's some more, video content, instructional content, stuff like that. My department, I really stick to event acquisition. So what's interesting for me is there's more events than ever. And, now I'm in a new phase where we're going to be expanding with more participatory events. So I can't really say too much, but we have some big events that huge participatory tournaments that we're going to announce our partnership with very soon globally. And I think that's going to be interesting to me to really capture a whole different market, because not everyone really cares about, Gordon Ryan, Craig Jones, the Merrick Alis of the world. They just want to compete, and their family and friends want to watch them, compete. And there's a lot of participatory events out there. So that's my challenge now, is to try to bring out some of these, as well as there's a lot of new professional events that we're working on as well. So, there's going to be a lot of cool new events coming to Flow.
Let's have a talk.
Yeah. I think I know a guy. So, it's the beauty of it. Like I said, more people doing jiu-jitsu, more events there are, whether participatory or fan-driven events. So there's not really a cap for what we're doing in the sport right now.
It's something Flow Sports is already doing on other sports.
Absolutely.
Supporting participatory event and things like that.
Yeah, so the company was actually founded by two brothers. One was doing track and the other one was doing wrestling. And their story is they basically, there was no media out there at the time for wrestling. You don't want to watch your match, you want to get your records, or track and field, you want to see whatever you're doing, and and there's no media, there's no content. So these two brothers invested in a video camera. They got a buddy, they bought a little van, and they started traveling across the U.S. That was maybe 10 years ago, maybe 12 years ago. And one thing led to another. They went from track and wrestling, they added another sport, then they added grappling, which was a big move. And now they have, almost 20 sports. And, these two brothers now are, like I said, 550 employees around the world, tons of sports. And what the thing about Flow is each sport kind of has its own representation, its own little team at the company. But they all follow the same kind of game plan, participatory events, fan-driven events, media, and so on. And,
it's amazing that in my feed and socials I get Flow Rugby. I'm a big rugby guy, so this is why it comes up. So rugby's not even a big thing in America. It's not even a medium thing in America. So to see Flow Rugby, I thought, bloody hell, how was that? How can that be?
Yeah, cheerleading. You will not believe how huge cheerleading or racing is a new vertical they got. Now that in Canada, they signed a couple deals with some major hockey leagues. So basically what they're trying to do is everything that's not on ESPN, they want to make those events and those athletes feel like they're on ESPN, and give them representation by live streaming content and so forth. So the company's doing very well. It's continuing to grow, and the grappling department's doing very well as well.
But the Flow Wrestling was genius, because you think about these kids in high school and that the parents, their family, their grandparents. That was a genius thing. You can't see the grandparents. I can't get. My hip is so bad. I can't do. You can watch it on Flow on Flow Wrestling. I think that was a really, really good thing. It's amazing.
And you have more subscribers on Flow Grappling or on Flow Wrestling?
So I can't tell you numbers.
If you can tell.
No. I could tell you that wrestling. Well.
It's not the same public, but it's interesting.
No, it's all good. So basically, wrestling is bigger than Flow Grappling, because why? Wrestling is in essentially every school.
It's a university sport.
Exactly. So it's bigger. It's much bigger. But we have a kind of a top 5, and what I can tell you is grappling's in the top 5.
Okay.
So it's doing good. Okay. It's healthy.
But congratulations to the team of 5 then.
Yes.
That was fantastic.
Great job.
And Rich, what about you? How do you see this evolution, and from a strategy point of view, if the indie guys like us have strategy, do you intend? We don't have strategy, we just have fun. But would you be interested in targeting new segments or new stuff, or
just keep it fresh? Because the more we get established, the more kind of jiu-jitsu gets established. It's just not kind of resting on your laurels, or just keep trying new things. Because up until now, it's not been a free-for-all, but it's been an open playing field to try things and see what works. And you just got to keep that going. Plus, I'm getting older, so it's kind of the newer people coming up as well. It's kind of recognizing what's going on in a wider culture outside of jiu-jitsu, and how can you feed that into jiu-jitsu as well. So what's happening out there that's going to change the look of what we're doing in here.
Okay, perfect. And last question, it's a question that I like a lot on a personal point of view, but do you think that jiu-jitsu or grappling is still a counterculture, or is it not anymore a counterculture? And no matter if it is or not, is it good to be a counterculture or not? Because that, to me, that was one of the things that was appealing as well. It was something like skateboarding, surfing. It was not, I don't do soccer or tennis, I do jiu-jitsu. So it brings something else it tells something else about you as well. So do you think it's a culture or a counterculture?
I can go here, guys. I mean, obviously it was a counterculture sport and kind of still is to a large degree. However, I've got friends back home. I live in Wales. It's a real small country. It's 3 billion people, small towns. And I got friends that message me and they say stuff like, wow, this... and I bring Helena up again. Wow, you've signed her as a sponsor. These people know these. And
what's happening? What's happening
in the jiu-jitsu world, not even in the MMA world, and other things that we do. And I'm thinking that's now surpassed counterculture. That's going into mainstream for me. I get a few friends who just don't do much other than go to work and go to the pub on a weekend, and they don't do it, but they know what's happening. So I'm thinking to myself, do you know what? It's still kind of counterculture. But I think it's loosening its grip. It's not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing. Not for me in business.
I think the same as like the skateboarding and the surfing culture, it kind of wrestles with itself because it needs to grow, but also it's not punk anymore. Once the big boys start coming in, which again, the punk itself kind of
you have two scenes now. You have
self-destructive.
Yeah. Talking about skateboarding, you have the people going to the Olympics on one end.
Yes, yeah.
To the Olympics on national television
and
everything, and you still have the core culture that's evolving and being on its own. So what do you think, Riccardo?
Yeah, I think as a whole, it was a counterculture martial art because the regular martial arts that we all are accustomed to, karate, taekwondo, all that stuff, jiu-jitsu would fight them, literally challenge them and defeat them. So it was counterculture in the beginning. Then it became a big cultural phenomenon and it continued to grow. But now what we're seeing is as you mentioned, like it's kind of like, fighting amongst themselves. And now there's little counterculture sects in the community or factions in the community. People that are just like, I don't like these tournaments, or I don't do no-gi, or I don't do this, And these little groups are growing, right? Like, no-gi was never as big as gi. And now you're getting so many schools that are just no-gi, and it's not a bad thing. It's now
it's an evolution.
Exactly, and now it's like the no-gi is kind of like the counterculture of the gi, right? So it's
and the gi is the counterculture of the fame of the no-gi.
Exactly.
Like you want to stay authentic, like the OG martial arts.
Exactly. I look at like a guy like Joel Tudor, super cool longboard surfer. And he has his comments about some of the current culture of jiu-jitsu and how he wants to see it. But that's what I look at as like a counterculture guy in the sport today. But what he does is super cool to me always. Cool guy. He's got a really nice academy, but he's teaching his guys for a different reason. Not just how to win tournaments, how to be badass at jiu-jitsu, how to defend yourself in an actual fight. And there's a lot of elements that are cool for that as well. But then the tournament culture, there's nothing wrong with that. That's huge too. We need that balance, right? We need a little bit of everything. We need kids, we need adults, we need people that want to compete. My question to you is, what's happening now with your like everyday average Joe just wanting to buy an entry level gi, as opposed to I need the coolest new tatami gi? I imagine that there's
different people, like you say. Such a small percentage of people in an academy do compete and things, and you've got amateur tournaments and you've got professional things like Polaris, of course. People do jiu-jitsu for different reasons, I guess. So, and for me, I think I would imagine the majority of products that we sell is aimed at your hobbyist and the guys just want to train 2 or 3 times a week, and I think that's pretty much what most people like to do. you get the guys who are super professional, they compete all the time. Generally, they kind of sponsor as well, you know. One of the great things for me was we were at Lisbon in the Euros some years ago, pre-COVID, and we had a booth there and we used to sell the stuff and things. And it was the time when Tommy Langaka, he subbed Iber Santos, and two guys come up to the booth and he said, "Is this the same guy that Tommy just subbed Iber with?" We said, "Yeah, that's the guy. Can we have two of them, please?" And I was like, wow, you know what I mean? Just based on the fact that Tommy just done that. And it was
That's
like,
the dream.
and that was amazing. So, yeah, you know, it's different people get different things from jiu-jitsu. And long may it continue.
So the scene has grown big enough in order to have everyone to be able to still be doing his own vision of jiu-jitsu. No matter if you're a competitor, no matter if you're a hobbyist, no matter if you're 22 or 45, 52. There's some jiu-jitsu for everyone.
Yeah, and I think that a big thing as well is the brands within jiu-jitsu have grown with jiu-jitsu. So it's not an outside big company coming in. The big companies we have grown with the communities. It's still part of us.
And it was part of the community for
And I think the community like that. They don't want to buy a Nike or an Adidas ski. I don't think they want that. I think they want to buy from brands who are involved in the community. I'm out here in SummerWeek. Nobody from Nike or Adidas would be coming out here to SummerWeek to shake hands with the people and our customers and the communities. And I think that's what's nice about it. And I don't want them to come. And neither do I.
Ben, thank you for your time, guys. It was a pleasure talking to you, and thank you to BJJ SummerWeek for hosting this podcast. Have a nice day.
Yeah, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.